Is there another Kotal too?
We won't have to share.
Then what is it we're fighting over?
Round 1, fight!
Yeah, what's going on everyone? Your boy is back. I've been getting requested this a lot, and I've been putting a lot of thought into it because I want to make it really like detailed and make it properly. So I'm finally doing it now. This is the Jade guide that everyone keeps asking me for every single day. So I'm finally doing it. This is going to have all the gameplay and strategies, combos, you know, good buttons, mix up kind of things. It's going to cover pretty much everything that you need to play Jade at like a basic level. And then you can kind of like put your own things into it to like get to the next step. If you want to watch high level Jade gameplay, you can come to my stream. It's just Twitch/Rasminator, same as everything else. So if you want to watch some Jade gameplay every single day I stream, you can check it out there. But let's get into the guide. Alright, so I'm just going to start off with what Jade's game plan is. So for most people that have watched Jade or ever played Jade, you probably know already, but her main game plan is to play like zoning/footsies. So you want to try and keep your opponent as far away as possible for the most part, depending on the matchup. But for the most part, you want to keep them really far away. You don't want them coming close to you. You want to keep them away with like zoning, projectiles. Obviously, her pokes are really good. You know, but you can also play like a bit of rushdown as well. So don't really just limit yourself to one way of playing like zoning, because she actually has decent rushdown with like a stagger game and like her overhead and stuff like that. Even though it's slow, like there's a bunch of options that you can use both far away and up close to kind of mix your opponent up. So keep that in mind, but for the most part, you want to be playing zoning and playing really patient. So yeah. Also for this guide, I'm only going to be covering Emerald Defender, the first variation, because I haven't really put enough time into Jaded, and I don't want to give like false information or anything like that about the other variation. But in the future, after I've spent more time with it, I'll definitely make a second guide for Jaded as well. Alright, so I'm just going to get into some pros and cons about Jade, in my opinion. So starting with the pros, a pretty obvious one is that her range is really, really good. So like her back 2, down 4, back 3's even got some range, her forward 2. You know, a lot of her normals have really, really good range. And so she has a lot of space control, and she can kind of control the pace of the neutral a lot, her down 2 as well, stuff like that. So yeah, she has great pokes. She's one of the best counter zoners in the game because you actually can't zone her for the most part. And she obviously has great zoning as well. So she has a lot of options in the neutral that can actually control the pace of the match really, really well. So depending on your opponent and depending on the matchup, you actually have a lot of control of this character in comparison to most. The only con I have for Jade, and to be honest, I don't even think it's a really bad thing anyway, like it probably doesn't actually need to be changed. But obviously her damage is pretty low considering she doesn't get many launches. So like for the most part, if you get like a grounded punish, like this is almost the most she can get. So, you know, her damage is pretty low, but she evens it out slowly because she can zone you like a lot with like projectiles, and she can poke you out a lot. So it's not really necessary for her to have much damage, but if there's any weakness about it, it's obviously her damage. Now we're going to get into the normals that you would want to use as Jade. These are the only ones I would say use at the moment. There is a few more that you can use later on, but for now, stick to these key normals and figure out these ones, and then you can start developing as you get further on with Jade into the other ones. So I'm going to start with her back 3. This is a very fast 11 frame mid. It's probably your best check, and it's very good at catching build out of mashing or disrespecting your frames, and it can be hit confirmed as well. So on block you can do back 3. This is -2. You can do the full string, the 3 hit string, sorry, it's -7, and you can also do the full string like this to be +5. If you want to be checking people up close, this is probably the normal you want to use because it can also be easily hit confirmed into EX Glaive, or you can just hit confirm it into Shadow Kick, or whatever you want to really. Okay, so the next normal I'm going to talk about is her down 4. This is a very, very good normal, probably one of the best down 4s in the whole game, considering it has so much range. It's got good hit advantage, so you can kind of down 4 and then like dash down 4 again if you're close enough. So you can kind of keep your opponent in check like that. Against a lot of characters, they actually really struggle against her down 4. So at an early phase when you're playing Jade, actually even anytime you're playing Jade, you want to get used to using this normal and figure out its ranges. It's also got very little recovery, so like even if you whiff it, it's not a big deal because it actually has very quick recovery and it's hard to whiff punish. So yeah, use this a lot. It's 10 frames, very good on block. I would suggest using this a lot. Okay, moving on to the next normal. This one is probably her most frustrating for opponents, her back 2. So this is one of her best normals purely just because of the range. It also has no hurt box, so you have to wait for the whole normal to whiff, or you have to duck underneath it before you can punish. But you do have to be careful because it is punishable on block. However, you can just special cancel it anyway to like create a mind game there. So by itself it's punishable on block, but you can actually just special cancel into like anything you want to make a mind game. So use this to your advantage that you can special cancel it and cause and like create a mix up for your opponent. Otherwise you'll just get punished every time, and you obviously don't want that. This normal is also probably one of the best whiff punishes in the game, to be honest, because it's 10 frames and it has so much range. You can like whiff punish people from super far away, and even if the last hit hits, you can still cancel it and get a hit confirm. I'm going to get into one of her least used normals. However, it does have its use, so I would suggest using it sometimes. Her forward 2, it's 27 frames, so it's really, really slow, but it has like so much range that the speed actually kind of, you know, makes up for it. So use this carefully because it's very slow and there's almost no way to be safe after it. However, you can use it to get your opponent respecting the option a little more. Like, you can use it in neutral when they're trying to dash up on you and, you know, cancel into like low spark for like a ghetto mix up. Or you can do like 4-2-1 with the last overhead. But like I said, you have to be really careful using this normal because it's very risky, super slow, and a lot of the time you will get punished for it. Okay, no surprises here. Next normal is going to be Jade's down 2. It's probably the best down 2 in the game, if not top 3. I'm not really sure. I would say it's probably the best right now though. It has great range. It's got a huge hitbox. As you can see, the whole staff goes really high up. And obviously on block, the pushback is insane. So if someone blocks this, like in your close, it actually doesn't really matter because you're so far away. And if someone jumps at you, I'll just show you really quick. It's like super reliable. Like you can actually never really get jumped on if you're waiting for it. Because it's just such a so fast, 9 frames, and has so much range. So yeah, you don't actually have to really worry about people jumping on you as Jade because you have this. It also combos into Shadow Kick as well. So yeah, super reliable anti-air. Probably one of the best in the game. Use this every time someone jumps, alongside her standing 2, which I'm about to get into next. So the next normal I'm going to get into is her standing 2. It's probably her best 7 frame normal. She also has down 1 and standing 1 as 7 frames, but this one's actually way better on block and it's the most damaging. So it's a great check on staggers, and it's also a great anti-air. So if you ever read in like a stagger and you want to just do a quick check with a high, 2-on-2 is definitely your best option. And you can also use this as an anti-air, which I'll show you right now. So if someone jumps at you, and you can easily anti-air them with zone 2. Okay, so like I showed you before, Jade's down 2 is one of the best in the game. You can use this a lot, and it's really reliable. However, the damage isn't always the best for an anti-air because, you know, you want to get more reward for them making that mistake. So what you can use is a standing 2 as an anti-air as well. So for example, someone jumps at you, you can do standing 2 into back 2 Shadow Kick, or you can do like standing 2 X Glaive, easy combo, stuff like that, just as an example. So yeah, it's a great anti-air, it's a great check on staggers, and it's actually not a bad stagger on block as well. So if they're blocking and you do like 2-1, it's not bad because it's really low minus. It's like, let me check, -2, and you can do the full string as well, and you can also backdash after this and, you know, make mind games out of it. And it's also a throw bait string because it looks like a throw. So when people see 2-on-2, they try and tech. So yeah, these are the key normals I suggest using early on. Later on, you can start using other normals like back 1, forward 3, forward 4. But for the early stage, it's very important to understand when and how to use these key normals properly. So we're going to get into her strings now. So like I said earlier, a lot of Jade's game plan is about zoning and poking. So there isn't many strings that I suggest using. However, the few that I do suggest using are very, very effective in her gameplay. So like I just showed you before, 2-on-2. It's a 3-hit string that's -4 on block. And it starts with a 7 frame high. Great check, looks like a throw. You can easily throw back people. And it has some stagger potential with like 2-1 backdash, 2-1 down 1. You can do 2-1 throw even. You know, you can really mix up this string because there's a lot of options from it. And it's very low minus, so you can actually really mix your opponent up with it. And it's a great check. So yeah, use this to your advantage. Don't use it too much because it does start with a high, and, you know, you can obviously get down to Crushing Blow and stuff like that. But yeah, use this a lot in your game plan, you know, especially on Oki and pressure. It's really good because it's pretty safe on whiff and stuff like that. Okay, so the next string I'm going to get into is a back 3-4-3. This is your best mid string. It's special cancelable, so you can easily hit confirm it. So for example, back 3-4-3, Shadow Kick, meter burn, or like EX Glaive. You know, really whatever you want. Like, you have so much time to hit confirm this. And using this alongside raw back 3, this by itself, and using the whole string, can create some very annoying mind games for your opponent. So for example, like back 3 is only -2. So you can do stuff like back 3 throw, back 3, you know, back 3, you can do the full string and be +5. You can also special cancel this in EX Glaive. There is a gap, but you know, a lot of people don't know that yet, so that's just a way around. I mean, a way you can mix it up even more. So yeah, you'll be using this when you want to catch people disrespecting your frames, or if you just want to kind of pressure your opponent. So use this a lot because it's definitely your best mid string, and like I said, you can mix it up a lot with the pressure with all 3 options of the string and special cancel as well. Okay, so the next string I'm going to get into is a 1-2-4. It's a 3-hit string with a lot of range on the second hit. It's not the best string, but it does have its strengths, and you should be using it sometimes to catch people walking back or like whiffing wake ups. So for example, if someone's walking back, that has a lot of range, so it's a low as well. So people trying to walk back or like block and stuff like that will definitely get caught. And it's also great on baiting wake up. So if you bait a wake up, you can like 1-2-4 and get the Crushing Blow and stuff like that. So I'll get into the Crushing Blow later, but it's a decent string. Use it sometimes. It's also safe on blocks, so even if they do end up blocking it, you're still safe. So it's not a bad string. Use it sometimes to throw your opponent off, but at the highest level, it's not the best string. Okay, so I spoke about 4-2 earlier, and I'm going to talk about this follow-up string that she has from that overhead. So 4-2 being really slow, you can still catch people sleeping, and you actually get a full combo from this string. So if they block this, you can, there's just an optimal, but you can get a full combo. So I'll get into the combos later, but like I said earlier, anything from 4-2 is risky, so you will be punished if they block the full string. But don't be scared to use it sometimes, especially at a low level. A lot of people will get hit by this, and if you have a really hard read on your opponent mashing buttons like out of range, you can also punish them by doing that. But like I said, it's pretty risky, so I don't suggest it too often, but use it sometimes, you know, show your opponent that the option's there, just to kind of threaten it, and then you can kind of play around that as well. Okay, last string I'm going to talk about is her forward 3-4. This string isn't used as much as her other strings, but I use it sometimes lately because it's a low string, it's safe on block, it's pretty fast, and it's very hit confirmable. So anytime this hits mid screen, you can just easily hit confirm into EX Glaive or like EX Shadow Kick. And it also is a full starter in the corner, so if they're in the corner, you can easily just confirm into this and get your full combo. Keep in mind this can be floor blocked, but it isn't a very common string, so don't be too afraid to use it to open up your opponents. Okay, next thing we're going to get into is her special moves. Most of Jade's special moves are designed with the same goal in mind, which is to keep your opponent as far away from you as possible. So I'm going to elaborate more on each one now, starting with the straight Glaive. So this is actually a very underrated zoning tool. While it is 20 frames, so it's not super fast, the trajectory that the Glaive has and the travel speed, it's actually a pretty unique projectile. So it has great recovery. As you can see, I block pretty quickly, and you'll find your opponent a lot of the time will try and jump into this. And you can easily get a combo off of it. Spending EX meter on this will allow Jade to throw a second Glaive behind the initial one. They're both still highs, but your opponent will be a bit more scared if you throw the EX, and it will kind of stop them from walking forward straight after ducking the first one a lot. So using this in neutral alongside your other projectiles is really good to keep your opponent guessing. I wouldn't suggest using it all the time when they're super close, but mixing it up between all of the other projectiles, it's a really good zoning tool. Okay, so the next special is up Glaive. This is down back 1. It's a pretty straightforward tool. If you think your opponent's going to jump to try and close the gap, you just throw an up Glaive from decent range, and it's an easy way to shut that down. If you have full screen, this will actually hit them even if they're ducking. So only at max range is it actually going to hit them when they're on the ground. But the reason this is a really good tool is because if they jump, they actually just get an easy combo. So if you throw an up Glaive and they jump into it, it's super easy to just get a combo off of it. So depending on the range, you can either just do that and then do Shadow Kick, or you can throw it up again and then do down 4 Shadow Kick like this. So yeah, like I said before, using this alongside our other zoning tools is a really good way. I'll definitely throw this out a lot because it's a good way to just threaten the neutral. You want them scared to jump, so keeping them scared to jump alongside our other projectiles, it's a great projectile to use. EXing is the same, it just throws an extra one, same thing, you can get an easy combo, stuff like that. So now I'm going to talk about her air glaive. So this is one of her best special moves as well because it's super fast. It has very little recovery. So if it whiffs, as you can see, I like recover super fast. It's also plus on blocks, so depending on the range, it becomes more plus on blocks. So really far away, it'll be super plus. The meterless one isn't too bad. It's a good check, and you can also use it after whiffing normals. But for the most part, EX is your go-to in the air, and it also gives you a free glow activation. So yeah, use this a lot. If they jump into it, you also get a free conversion. And you can also use this after things like jump kick, EX glaive. That's also plus on block. So yeah, use this to your advantage. Remember, it's pretty safe to do, so I would suggest doing it a lot. The meterless one is good as well, but just keep in mind it has more recovery and it's easier to punish. So use it to your advantage, but don't be too crazy with the meterless one as well. The next projectile I'm going to get into is her Edenian Spike or Low Spark. This is down back 3. It's a 20 frame projectile. It travels really, really fast. It is a low as well, so that's good. It's kind of negative on blocks, so I wouldn't use it up too close, and it has a bit of recovery. So if someone jumps over this and you whiff it, you're probably going to get punished. So like I said before, a lot of Jade stuff you kind of got to be careful with, but if you're using this full screen, it's really, really strong. Just don't use it up too close because it is kind of risky, but it will catch people walking forward if they're close enough because they won't actually have time to react to it. So yeah, use it at your own risk, but it is a very good projectile to keep your opponents in check. Just want to quickly touch on this, Jade's Parry. I would honestly say to never use this, if I'm being honest. I've actually never used this in a match on purpose, so just in my opinion, don't use this move just yet until there's a really solid use for it for now. But yeah, just keep it in mind that you have it, but we probably won't use it too much yet. The next move I'm going to talk about is Jade's Glow. This is down back 2. This is definitely the best special move she has, and one of the big reasons she's super strong at the moment. So if anyone who doesn't know, when she's purple, she's completely projectile invulnerable, and she can play her zoning game against all the other zoners. So for example, I'll just show you here. If Jade throws EX Glaive at me and I'm purple, even if I'm not blocking, it just goes straight through me. So yeah, like this wasn't working against every, like technically things that should be projectiles, but for the most part you can just put this on and you actually can't be zoned by any character. It's also good to mention that this recovers really, really fast, and it's like super easy to activate. So just a quick example, if they block this full screen, or even there, you get a free one, like 100% safe. You can't really be punished for it. So use that to your advantage, like EX Glaives, or like if a projectile knocks down like this, easily get glow up. So yeah, using this to your advantage in a lot of matchups is really, really strong. Just know which matchups it works and which matchups it doesn't, and always use it as much as you can. The next special move I'm going to get into is Eyeshadow Kick, down forward 4. It's a super fast advancing high, but it's very, very fast, and it's very, very good to punish unsafe moves like that are super far away, or whiff punishes. So for example, like if they're really far away and they whiff a normal that you can't usually punish with like any of your other normals, you can easily just Shadow Kick for a super easy punish on reaction, and it also is a great anti-air as well. So for example, if they're jumping, like say at this range, you can easily just Shadow Kick on reaction to them jumping. And also, this has a Crushing Blow attached to it, so if you hit one Shadow Kick, all you need to do is hit another one, and it will easily Crushing Blow. You can also use this in neutral, so like if you're just playing around all your normals, all your projectiles, stuff like that, and your opponent's always trying to walk forward, you can actually just throw the Shadow Kick out sometimes. It is risky, but it is a great way to keep your opponent in check if they're like super fast on approach and they just want to get in really quickly. So don't be scared sometimes to chuck this out, because I definitely do, and it definitely works. So, you know, using this alongside all your normals and using this as a reactionary button, it's very, very strong. And the mid-range version is actually some nice extra damage as well. Okay, last but not least, we're going to get into a Deadly Butterfly or a back 4-2. This is your go-to hit confirm special when in the corner. You can use it mid-screen, but the damage isn't really that good, and you'd probably rather just get the Shadow Kick Crushing Blow. So I'm just going to specify this for the corner for the most part. So anytime you're in the corner, you can easily hit confirm this off like any of your strings. So like back 3, forward 3, 4, even 2-1 is hit confirmable into it. So all of your main strings will go into this. And the main reason you want to use this is because you get a combo off of it in the corner. So for example, anytime you hit Deadly Butterfly in the corner, you can just do Style Spin and just get a super easy combo. That's not the most optimal, but I'll get into those later. But yeah, for example, you can just do that. It's also not too bad sometimes. Very rarely to throw this out on block after down 1, because people will try and poke back. But I don't suggest it too often because it's pretty easily to punish on block. So yeah, but it is an option. It's very good if anytime you hit confirm this in the corner. It's pretty good damage as well. So yeah, always hit confirm into this in the corner. I wouldn't suggest doing it into anything else. So yeah, that's the reason you would use that move. They're all Jade special moves. I think for the most part that covers everything about those. And now let's get into her Crushing Blows. So now I'm going to get into Jade's Crushing Blows, and I'm going to start with her 1-2-4. So 1-2-4 is probably one of her most difficult Crushing Blows to hit at the highest level. So this will trigger if the second is the first to connect, and it lets you convert for a full combo. It's not super reliable, but it's actually not too risky to go for, as the full string is safe on block. And the second hit has quite a bit of range and is also safe on block. So a few simple and practical times for you to try and fish for this would be, like I said earlier, throw baiting, catching a walk back, and baiting wake up attacks. Here's a quick combo example as well of what 1-2-4 Crushing Blow would look like. Okay, Okay, so the next one I'm going to get into is her Shadow Kick Crushing Blow. It's very, very strong. It's probably one of her best ones in my opinion. So the requirement is literally just hit 2 Shadow Kicks in a row. So an easy way to set this up is to like end your combo in Shadow Kick. So anytime you do a combo, just end in Shadow Kick. And then the Crushing Blow is there, stored. So while you're playing neutral, keep in mind, once you hit the first Shadow Kick, you can't press any normals. So you can't press normals, you can't press any normals at all. Can't do any special moves. The only thing you can do is backdash or forward dash, jump, and block. So once you have the first Shadow Kick stored, you can use it to like whiff punch or anti-air, and if it hits, you get really good damage. You can also meter burn the Crushing Blow as well. So it's like almost 30% just for a Shadow Kick after you've hit the first one. Okay, last but not least, she has a Crushing Blow and a forward throw. It's really, really strong because it allows you to combo after. So the requirement is that they fail the tech beforehand. So if you throw them and they try and take the wrong way, it will come up saying escape failed. And once you see that, that means the throw will Crushing Blow. Yeah, once you see escape failed, that means your next forward throw will Crushing Blow. If you throw them and they tech anytime before this, it will go away and you have to get it again. So keep in mind, just pay attention to that because it's really, really strong having this Crushing Blow ready. And it also makes your opponent really, really scared of forward throw, so then you can start back throwing them more. So yeah, using this in your staggers while having it stored makes it even scarier for your opponent. And you also get a nice combo like this. So yeah, those are her main Crushing Blows that you'll be seeing a lot of the time alongside down 2, but that's like a universal one, so I don't really need to get into that. Now we're going to talk about her basic pressure and mix-up game. Well, Jade's usually considered a zoner. Her rushdown and offense is actually pretty good as well, so here are a few basic examples of ways to mix your opponent up on hit and block. So like I mentioned earlier, her best stagger / pressure tool is her back 3 string. So back 3, only -2, starts with 11 frame mid. And you can use this alongside all of the strings, so back 3, 4, 3, back 3, 4, 3, 4, and throw as well. So combining all of these and having throw Crushing Blows stored, it makes it really, really scared for your opponent. So yeah, use this to your advantage, mix it up a lot. You can also just do back 3 down 1 or like back 3 throw. Keep in mind that this can be floss blocked if you do the full string, but mix it up enough and you'll have your opponent trying to contest and, you know, guessing in no time. So I'm just going to touch on it again really quick. Her 2-1 and her 2-on-2, really good stagger, forces throw baits and catches neutral ducks. So if people are trying to neutral you throw and they see this whiff, they see the standing 2 whiff, they're going to usually try and contest and they'll get hit by the second hit. So mix it up between all 3 options and like use it to force your opponent to guess because it's a really, really good string. What I'm talking about is the standing 4. I wouldn't suggest using it too much because it's a high, so you can actually just get Crushing Blow really bad for it. But, you know, if people are respecting and you know that, I would use it a bit. It's +3 on block, so that means you get a free throw. They can duck the throw, obviously, but, like, using this alongside all your other staggers actually makes her pressure pretty scary. So another huge strength and way to pressure Jade is using her jump kick and EX Glaive. So it's really plus on block and it forces your opponent to like play around your game and respect your frames. So depending on where you're on the screen, you can either frame trap or you can just like get a down 4 check. So like you can do EX Glaive like this. And it's like, you know, dash down 4 or something like that to, you know, keep him in check. But it's usually really, really good in the corner because they're like right in front of you and they have to respect the back 3 follow-up. So yeah, using this is really, really strong, forces your opponent to respect it a lot, and it also comes on hit for some nice damage, so I'll show you here. Now I'm going to get into a very basic and very risky mix-up that's attached to a back 1-2 string. I didn't mention this string earlier because I said I don't really use it at all, and it's very, very risky. So as you can see, back 1-2 is mid overhead. But you can also just cancel it into the low spike for a semi-real mix-up for the most part, but it will catch your opponents off guard a lot. Just don't use it too often because the risk-reward is obviously not in your favor. Like if this hits, you get like 8%. If they block it, they get like 20 to 30. So yeah, just keep it in mind, but don't be afraid to chuck it out sometimes. Back one also has a lot of range, so depending on the matchup and, you know, which characters you're playing against, I would suggest using it sometimes. Just be careful with it because it's very, very risky. EX Glaive is actually one of her best pressure tools, and I'm not talking about on block, I'm actually talking about on hit. So anytime you hit the EX Glaive, you have enough time to get a guaranteed back 3 follow-up. So the normals that you can get this off are back 3, so you can do back 3 string, hit confirm, EX Glaive, or you can do like forward 2 EX Glaive, even point blank you can actually do back 2 EX Glaive, and you can also do 2-1 and forward 3. So the reason this is so strong is because when they get hit by an EX Glaive, you can do dash throw. You can do dash back 3. You can do dash 2 on 2 for a throw bait. You know, there's a lot of options you have here. So using this on hit confirms is super strong, and honestly the damage is only like 0.5 less than Shadow Kick. So a lot of time you actually want to hit confirm into this more than Shadow Kick, unless you know they're going to die from the Shadow Kick ender. Okay, so a pretty common misconception with Jade is that she's lacking in combos. But here are some basic B&Bs that you can use. A lot of her damage actually just comes from hit confirming strings into Shadow Kick or EX Glaive. So you won't see too many launches outside of Crushing Blows and anti-airs. Alright, that is basically going to wrap it up for the Jade guide. I really hope you guys enjoyed. I really hope it helps. Keep in mind, like I said earlier, I stream every single day on Twitch, so you can always come there to watch Jade gameplay. I also go to a lot of tournaments. My next one will be CEO this month. So please let me know if it helped you. If you have any questions, feel free to ask. You know, you can DM me on Twitter or anything like that. I really appreciate you guys watching. Hope it helped. Let me know what you want to see next. And I'll see you guys later on stream or in the next video. Peace, fellas.